Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this, your Aquarius, April 2024 reading and forecast. Hi, I'm Nigel St. James, clairvoyant. Well, this month we have an interesting deck for you. It's called the Heindel deck. I guess it was developed maybe 40 years ago, maybe more than that. You tarot geniuses may know more than that. That's what the back of it looks like in any event. Now, I know that it will enable me to provide you with a unique perspective on the energies and influences which are surrounding you. And this will help you to navigate the month with insight and awareness. Now, this deck I usually use a lot of astrology and numerology in my readings, as you will know, but this deck also has Chinese hexagrams, hex meaning six, the lines, broken and unbroken lines, I Ching hexagrams. It also has runes from the Elder Futhark alphabet, I suppose you'd call it, the runes from the Vikings. It also has very prominently displayed biblical Hebrew letters, which are intended to speak to you. Now, these things together act as lenses, if you like, through which energy is received by me, and which I'll pass on to you, of course, and you'll find it enlightening. Now, over the course of the last month, I've done a number of one-on-one clairvoyant readings for people from different parts of the world over FaceTime and Skype. And if you might be interested to see what's involved in having a clairvoyant reading with me, then just check out the information that's in the description below. Now, separately, I've also provided a lot of healings for people from different countries over FaceTime and Skype as well. Now, readings I charge for, I have to, but healings, in addition to the spiritual gift of clairvoyance, I was also at birth given the spiritual gift of healing. And I've used it for over 40 years, and it was given to me on the basis that I, number one, have to use it, and two, I can receive no benefit in return. I can't get anything in return. So what that means is it's offered for free, and there's no obligation attached. You won't be talked into or suggested to have a reading by me at all. I will not be selling you anything, and nor will I be recommending that you get anything from anybody else. It is what it is. It is the free lunch. And so if you do have some heartache or grief or emotional issue that you want to have healed, or it could be a physical thing, you will know it will resonate with you if you need it. I am very happy to provide it. And you also understand that the healing comes through me and not from me. But let's get the 5 cards underway for you now, shall we? I think this is going to be an interesting... We're going to move it along because these are going to be quite packed with information, I think. So what's the first messenger? 6 of Wands. It's got an I Ching on it. There's the High Priestess. That's got looks like a rune and a Hebrew letter there as well. There's another rune and Hebrew letter. There's the Hierophant. Why have you got those two? That's interesting, isn't it? There's the 4 of Swords with an I Ching. And finally, there is 2 of Cups with a beautiful, beautiful I Ching hexagram there. And it speaks, well, we'll see it in just a moment. So why don't you come? Sit down here next to me. I'll bring the camera around. And you and I can have a good close look at the imagery on these cards together while I do the reading, especially for you. Let's go, and why don't we start with this one in the middle of your spread. And what is happening in the painting here? Well, in the center of the thing, that looks like there's some old grandfather that's taking up most of the picture there. And to the right over here, there looks like his son, who is the father of a boy. And this boy is, you might see it, he's wearing a red skull cap. Now, this says to me that this is a Jewish scene. and is representative of the Jewish religion, and in particular the 5 books of the Torah, as the Jews call them. Now, Judaism, of course, is the foundation religion of both Christianity and of Islam. Now, the book and the key that are there, I think that they do refer to those first 5 books of the Torah, being Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Maybe not in that order, but they are the books of Moses, who is the religious hero of Judaism, that patriarchal sort of religion of Judaism. I think, though, that the book also says to me that this might be a time when you are quite interested in culture and also in knowledge. Now, I notice that there is a Viking rune and a Hebrew letter there. Now, have I told you the story of how the runes came about? Well, it's this. In Viking mythology, the king of the gods, Odin, was a great seeker of knowledge, and on one occasion, in order to obtain wisdom, he was required to tear out one of his eyes, which he did. And so we see him represented generally as a one-eyed god. Now, he wanted to know what the wisdom of the runes was. And so he hung upside down from a branch of Yggdrasil, which was the Viking world tree. He hung upside down from that for 9 days and 9 nights, staring into a well. Now, within that well lived 3 Norns, as they are described, which are unmarried women who had a function similar to those to that of the Fates in Greek mythology. Now, also residing in the depths of the well were the runes. Now, Odin hung there, as I say, for 9 days and 9 nights without eating or drinking, concentrating on that well, and willing the runes to appear until gradually on the 9th day they rose to the surface and they imparted to Odin their mysteries and sacred knowledge. Now, this rune is called Rado. This Hebrew letter is Vav, and I'll get to that in a second. But if we look at the rune itself, Rado, or it can sometimes be pronounced Raido, it actually means a wagon and traveling by land. It also refers to a momentum or a journey. So this is a journey and the power that keeps you moving forward towards your chosen destination. It's the channeling force, according to natural laws, along the right road leading to the right result. It's also the conscious decision to achieve something, and you also have the discipline to carry it out. Now, the rhythm, that motion, when your forward movement is in harmony with your purpose, it is now leading you to success. Now, this Hebrew letter that's up there, it looks like a nail, and that's not surprising because that's the letter Vav, which has the power to unite everything that is separated in creation. You see, Vav literally means a hook or a peg, and it's a vertical line, really, with a top on it, isn't it? And that represents the vertical line extension of the Creator's perfection into the created world, and its constant direction of it, guiding the cycle of existence step by step, until eventually the perfect oneness of the Creator, which underlies all of creation, is revealed. Now, this letter, energy, contains the power to connect heaven and earth. It can be considered like a fiber optic cable which connects and bestows all the energy and abundance from above down to you. It can teach you the state of constant presence needed to connect your own heaven and earth. Now, I think that the number also represents the number 6, the 6 days of creation, as well as the 6 physical dimensions, which are right and left, front and back, up and down. It's also representative of the male penis, the fertilizing agent, bringing life, abundance, continuity, and addition to your life. Now, I also suspect that this is indicating a time for you to, a desire to, or a requirement to follow rules, regulations, and the traditions in your life, even if you don't necessarily agree with the traditions. Go along with it if those close to you would otherwise be upset or hurt by it. There's a period here of intense learning, not necessarily in a formal sense, although it could involve a trade or night school or college, but certainly you sucking up information. You might find that you are advising someone, that you are counseling someone. This is a very good energy for those people who are involved in large organizations, because you're really going to be able to make an impact in there as well. And say this to yourself: I do honor the sacred within me. I am inspired by learning and teaching. I am creative and productive in family and professional life. But there is only one voice worth listening to, and that is the voice of my own heart. Now, what does this card, which is just touching onto it at the bottom, have to say? Let's have a look there. It's called the Truce. And what do you see? I'll tell you what I see. I see that the swords they're sort of suspended in midair, aren't they? Which is really bringing about a sort of waiting feeling. A leaf falls slowly, and you can see in it a little pearl inside or behind a bubble. And there is a white feather on the ground in a woods, which signifies truth. Now, here's a Chinese I Ching, or what I should properly say is a Chinese hexagram. Hexagram because there's 6, hex is 6 lines. Now, these things can be found in the Chinese Book of Changes, which was created in about 600 or 700 BCE, as I recall. And hexagrams are made up in a variety of ways, but they're combinations, different combinations of unbroken lines, which are yang, or active principle, and broken lines, which are receptive principle. Now, these things can be read either one line at a time, or in couplets, that is in 2s, or in 3s, or as I do, I read them as 6 together. And if I look at this and stare into it, I suppose that a good, sensible English translation of it would be returning. It means returning. So this is a turning point for you, I think. That's recharging you. And this is eventually going to bring success for you. Now, this hexagram is associated with the turning of darkness back towards the light. The winter solstice, the dead of winter, the shortest day of the year, the day when darkness begins to decrease and the hours of daylight start to increase again. This is really a point of a turnaround for you, a time for letting go of the old and making way for the new. It's a time of new beginnings, and it all starts with rest. Now, don't move too fast, as a new momentum is just beginning, Now, this turnaround, I think, requires that your energy be recharged by adequate rest and recuperation so that your life force is not depleted. It's almost like a principle of hibernation here, of allowing energy to renew itself and be strengthened by rest. And this can apply to, well, very many situations, just some of which might be a recuperation after an illness, the slow return of trust after a period of estrangement from someone, or the careful development of new relationships after the splitting apart of old ones. Now, the astrology is particularly useful for you here, I might say, because it is Jupiter in the third decan of Libra. Now, Libra tries to find a balance in your life, and the need for balance can sometimes bring about unrest. Now, I have found in my experience that Libra can also sometimes bring about indecisiveness. But what is happening here is that Jupiter is bringing you a period of rest from what might have been a difficult situation, as well as opening up your higher mind's flexibility, which is needed to resolve the difficulties that come about in life. Jupiter is now allowing you to move on. Now, what you must do, of course, is to understand that you now have enough inner clarity to successfully carry out your plans. Now, be sure at all times that you feel good about what is happening. Now, what supports and what hinders your clarity. Check your surroundings and rearrange them to support calm and centeredness, and say to yourself, I am at peace with myself. Well, this bird has caught my attention down here, so why don't I have a look at it? Oh, look at the hexagram on that. That's very, very interesting. As I say, you're free to interpret these things as you see fit, these things. But what do I see? Now, what do I see here with this, looking at the painting here? Well, here is a peacock, and that symbolizes rebirth and balance. Now, the peacock it's very much a mystical fantasy type of bird, and it emphasizes, I think, the importance of fantasy in love and also in sex. Now, the two cups there show, I think, two people joining together in love. And check this out. Look how here we have 6 unbroken or yang lines to that hexagram, which I would call creative power. Now, for you now, the air is ripe with imagination, inspiration, and energy. The flying dragon, if you like, is an ancient symbol in the Far East of a dynamic, arousing force that really bodes well for creative, useful movement. Movement, again, it's a theme for you. Now, if your goals are in alignment with the greater good, positive actions taken, and taken with good timing, they are going to meet with success. This is an excellent time for you to exercise leadership because you can be strong now. But be warned, success turns to failure if strength turns to arrogance. Now, as I say, this hexagram contains all yang lines and really is one of the most auspicious in the Book of Changes. And because you've drawn this, it says that I think you can be assured of success. Now, the astrology is particularly beneficial for you because it is Venus in the first decan of Cancer, 21st of June to, it would be the 1st of July. Now, this really sets out the real benefit of you having drawn this card here and under this High Priestess, which I'll probably get to next, because Cancer is the most receptive nurturing, comforting, supporting, and healing of the signs. And Venus is the most receptive planet about love, beauty, and creativity. I see here for you receptive love, very happy relationships, and an emotional exchange. If you love yourself, you are attractive to others. Your receptiveness towards yourself prepares you to give yourself totally to someone else. And I think a deep emotional exchange is possible, a giving and receiving of overflowing love. Your readiness to receive love, and it makes you attractive. So surrender to yourself, to others, and to life, because this is talking of close bonds, togetherness, love, harmony, and a relationship that is strengthening. And there is around you mutual love and respect. Now, it can also refer to close, non-romantic friendships here. And it's also, this is a particularly good card for people who are in sales or in dealing with people as part of their life or work. Now, with which persons and in which surroundings can you now share your love? Pay attention to the love that's coming to you now. Remain open and let it enter you and go deep inside. There really is nothing to do at this time but enjoy what life offers and say to yourself, I am ready to let into my life the love relationships which fulfill me. Now let's have a look at High Priestess. Oh, there's a rune and a Hebrew letter there as well. Is that a camel? I think that is a camel, isn't it? Where is she? There she is. Let's have a look. That is a camel, isn't it? It must, surely it's a camel. Well, I'm looking at that Hebrew letter. I think that means camel, but I'll get to that. That does mean camel, but let's get to it in just a second while we look to see what's going on here. And I would say what we see here is that there is the priestess is the goddess manifested as the moon, the seas, the night, and the earth. Now, light really fills this card, radiating from her palms, pouring down from the globe over her head. Now, her dress seems to pour down like rain on that camel and the dark land. She really is the divine life principle. This rune is Uruz, and this is Gimel, camel, I'm sure, the third. Anyway, Uruz is something that means a wild ox. It means life force, strength, and a period of good health for you. Uruz is the mother of manifestation, the shaping power that defines the origin and the destiny of everything. And it represents both mental and physical health for you. Now, it can mean a challenge to your strength or the results of past actions coming to light health-wise, so just be aware of your health. And I do know a witch, actually, who uses Uruz jewelry to strengthen her mental and physical health and to help manifest properly her destiny. Now, that Hebrew letter Gimel, that's the third letter. The first letter of the alphabet is Aleph, which is like oneness. It's silent, actually. The second is Bet, and that goes from oneness to duality. Well, this letter of Gimel, that's the third principle, which arises to resolve and harmonize these opposites, which come from the first two letters. This is the third letter, remember. So Gimel links and balances between the first and the second letters of that alphabet. Alpha, Aleph, is the first letter. Bet is the second letter. Aleph, Bet, alphabet. You see where it comes from. So it's a dynamic balance between opposing powers, and it's a letter of representing constant transformation, change, and motion. And it does, as I say, literally translate as camel, an animal that we do associate, if only in films and on television, with travel between faraway places. And it includes the opposites of both giving and receiving, and reward and punishment, creating balance and motion between these opposites. You will now have great insight to your intuitive powers, healing, independence, and inner equilibrium, self-confidence, discovering your own truth, your spirit guides, your emotional stability is coming to the fore here. Now you will be in touch with your intuitive abilities and can trust them completely because she perceives and is connected with her own inner voice, the internal guide and healer. Now this shows outwardly in her trust in and responsibility for herself. And like this camel, which can travel long stretches in the desert without water, you, when you have discovered your own inner spring, you will also radiate a satisfied sense of self-sufficiency. You will find a fertile oasis in the innermost reaches of your being. I will say this, that the more you accept yourself and share with others, the deeper the clarity of your perceptions will become. Now we turn finally, and I'm going to have to do this really quickly because I'm mindful of your time here, but this is called victory, and it actually does mean victory when I get to what's around it, because it's Jupiter in Leo, and Jupiter is bringing expansion and good luck, and Leo is expanding your creativity. I think you might enjoy being in the spotlight at some stage here. Here are spears, which are all of the same height, growing out of barren rock. And here, the evergreen of ivy, symbol of victory throughout the ages, is wrapped around the rocks and is here. Now check this hexagram out. You know how we looked at this one before, which was all yang lines? This is all yin lines. And it means receptive power. Now, great receptivity attracts great gifts and great blessings. A natural responsiveness attracts success through support and perseverance rather than through bold action. So, you know, if you're sensible, you can demonstrate strength like a powerful but gentle mare, the female horse, rather than the rampaging stallion. This, again, like the other one, is a very auspicious hexagram consisting of all yin lines, and it represents the power of the feminine principle. And such receptivity as we see here is much more powerful and healing than you might think. This receptive force is sensual and subtle and can be overlooked by too much thinking, talking and planning. Now, when spring comes, does the grass plan to grow? No. Well, this is a time to concentrate on realities rather than on potentials, with how to respond to a situation rather than how to direct or manipulate it. Now, the mature feminine allows herself to be guided by a higher power and is skilled at graceful acceptance. Now, spiritually, her quiet contribution is highly effective, bringing a deeply felt kind of success. So do what you are planning to do, because this moment promises success for you. And say this is a victory over past troubles. All is well. You'll have high self-confidence from that Leo that I spoke about. And you'll be able to set goals and improve your learning and understanding, which was Jupiter. And say this now: I am now ready to enjoy success in my life. Every event in my life brings me closer to my final goal, and my victory brings benefits to all involved. What a fantastic spread of cards for you. And you did a great job. I told you it was an interesting deck, didn't I? And I hope you enjoyed that reading as much as I did providing it to you. Now, unless I see you privately for a reading or for a healing, then of course I'll see you again next month. And until then, though, remember one thing, and it is this: that you are a legend. And I look forward to seeing you again next month. Until then, it's bye for now.